Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Change Book Podcast. This is our Monday podcast where we introduce you to our most amazing authors, and today is no exception. And we have an amazing lady that I was privileged to meet over a year ago, and I want to welcome Sue Fries to our show. I know I'm really careful with your last name because in my mind, before it was Fries, I'm like, I better say it right.
Yes.
How are you today, Sue?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for asking. And you?
I'm doing great. I love Mondays because we get the word out with our amazing authors and the empowerment that we bring to people. So my first question to you is, why did you choose the Change Book?
Pretty amazing, but that word change is so big, and everybody has their own story of what they've experienced in change, because change is inevitable. Either we're going to work with it and change with it, or not make a decision, not make a choice, and that's a choice too. So for me, it's kind of my mantra. I mean, it's kind of what I talk about a lot. I have a radio show, and I talk about change a lot because I think it's important that we embrace change and not fight it, because I think it's there for a reason. I also say that for every circumstance we go through, because we all go through them, don't we? I mean, every week it's a new week, every day is a new day. And I just take every single opportunity, every single problem as an opportunity. And it's, to me, I think that when we go through trials and tribulations, it is preparation for our next assignment. And that's the way I look at it. It's like it's an opportunity for improvement, an opportunity to learn a lesson, and it's preparing me and you for what's next.
I
So
love that, Sue. That's probably one of the best explanations I've ever heard. And
well,
for
thank you.
me, it took me a long time to get there until I looked at it as, okay, am I going to be negative or positive about this? And even with my divorce, it came to me that didn't happen to me. It happened for me. So I think a lot of times you can kind of do a paradigm shift there in your thinking. And I absolutely love the way you describe that.
Right.
So, and you mentioned your radio show. So since you brought that up, tell us about that.
Yeah, the radio show. When I was growing up, this is a new aha moment that I've just received in the last 2 weeks. Okay. And
Ooh.
all this time, and I'm still getting those aha moments, and I hope that always continues. But I went to a self-discovery weekend, and it was all experiential on how we believe, and things that happen in childhood. We receive them, and we put our story on whatever it is that was. For instance, some children, I was one of them, came from a divorced home, and I thought it was my fault. I thought if I could have been better as a daughter, then maybe they would have stayed together, which is a lie, but that's the way I received it. And so anything that went on from that, I was less than. I needed to get better. I needed to, work harder and be better. And so, although that's a good thing to have that type of mentality, to take that responsibility of your parents and their decisions and put it on you as a little kid is really not the best thing to do. And when I was young, there were decisions made that affected me, like divorce, right? How many people have gone through a family of divorce, and how it affects everyone, that ripple effect, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And I vowed I would never do that. I would never get divorced, no matter what. I was going to just not get divorced. So I stayed married 32 years. Side note, I'm not married now. And it took that long for me to figure out I could not fix it. I could not fix that situation. Rabbit trail back to this mastery recovery kind of thing. I realized that when I was young, I didn't have a voice. I didn't have a voice. I told my mom this, or I told my mom that. And I love my mom dearly, but there were things that were chosen for me that I had no control over. And I felt like if they would just listen to me, but I had no voice. And you asked me about the radio show, and my aha moment is that once I had no voice, and now I have a voice. And my voice, it's a responsible situation to be on the radio and have a large listenership, and to do my best to help people see that they need to change, to see that there is a beautiful life out there if we just give thankfulness and gratefulness every morning to to tackle that day with positivity and not doom and gloom. And instead of, I have to take my kids to church, I get to take my kids to church. I have to go to work. No, I get to go to work. It's just a difference in attitude. So once as a child, I had no voice. And now I have a voice on the radio. It's the Sue Freeze, spelled like fries, oneword.com show. And it's been on, get this, for 14 years. And I'm just like amazed at that. And when I was asked to do it, I didn't push for that. It wasn't in my wheelhouse. You know, I run a company, right? I run a company. I'm working a lot of hours. And then one day, the general manager of the Salem Communications said, let's go to lunch. And I said, are you buying? He said, yes. And I said, I'll be there. And that's a true story. And I'm sitting in my chair. Good thing I was sitting. And he said, Susie, I think you need to have your own radio show. I'm like, are you crazy? You're kidding, right? That's what you're kidding, right? This is a joke, right? And he goes, no. And he goes, this isn't from me. This isn't from me. But I really believe you should have a radio show. And so I thought, okay, I'm working 16-hour days. When am I going to fit that in? And then what am I going to call it? And what the heck am I going to talk about? And 14 years later, I still have new material. Why? Because life changes every day, and I'm learning things. We are all learning lessons every day. And so I take my real life lessons and I talk about it on the air. And I welcome people to connect with me by going to SueFreeze.com. And when they do, they tell me about finding my show or suicidal thoughts and not going through with the secret of abortion. And they decided that after hearing my show that they're going to tell their parents the secret they've been holding on to for who knows how long. And they went and told their parents, and she was embraced, and it just changed her whole life. And all that time we waste to not have that conversation, all that time we waste worrying about things that we can't fix anyway. So what has changed? Change is looking at things differently and doing something different, because what we've been doing a lot of the times isn't working for us anymore. So we got to do something different if we want something different to happen. And what is that? Difference is choice, and difference is change. So that's my long answer to your question.
And you know, I absolutely love it, because I can hear the depth of authenticity in your voice. I can hear that compassion, and I love that so much. And when you talk about not having a voice, I was married 25 years and didn't have a voice. And when I started my healing journey, that's what I was most mad about myself for and had to forgive myself for, is not standing up for me. And so that you're talking about that, I think that is so important. And I've always given my kids options. Now, what do you think? How do you feel about this? I just knew to do that. I hated the saying kids should be seen and not heard. I hate that one. So that's probably one of the best explanations, again, that I've ever heard. So thank you for that. And talk about being a businesswoman. When I read your bio, I'm like, how am I going to fit all this into 30 minutes? And there's so much, and it's so amazing. But I know you run a pest company, which you talk about is a male-dominated field. And I really want you to discuss that, because my career was in real estate and lending, like in the 80s, when that was a very male-dominated field. Tell us about how did you have to fight your way to the top? Did you climb the ladder with people pulling on your legs, tugging you back down? How did that happen?
Well, if anybody wants to hear the story, it's on termitelady.com, termitelady.com. Very easy. And that's my company in California. And I know this goes everywhere. So right now, congratulations for doing to do. I just commend you.
Thank you.
Book was never in my, but it's like when you were taught field proud of, such as we're not proud of, for your story, that you can help.
So you are cutting in and out just a little bit.
It's really a good thing. So how I got involved with pest control was I married into it. My husband, not now husband, was a fireman, and his father was in the pest control business. And I always told my husband, I want to be in ministry with my husband. I want to build a ministry. And we got a call 2 weeks after we got married. It was a very quick wedding. I mean, I met him in June, engaged in August, and married in December. I don't recommend it. I really don't. But on another note, I have 2 beautiful kids and 4 grandkids. So, hey, life is beautiful. But we ended up getting into the pest control business, and I ended up going to the office and learning from scratch. All I knew was I didn't like bugs. I just didn't like bugs. That's all I knew. But I went in the office and I started answering the phones, and I heard the questions, and I heard that I was speaking normally to the mother or the woman. And I got really good at answering the questions because I am a mom and I am a woman. And so the women that I was talking to really could feel comfortable with me, even though technically they didn't think that maybe I knew as much. But when I expressed my knowledge on the phone, they got comfortable with it, speaking to a woman about a bug thing. And I just learned so much. And I worked with my husband for 20 years. We did not have healthy boundaries at home, and we definitely did not have healthy boundaries at work. And it came to a point that I couldn't continue on the way I was because it wasn't working for me. And I had an opportunity to buy Ecola. And just to back up a little bit, part of the story, and it's a very big part, is that my son, who's now a lot older, I think he's my age, but no, yeah.
Well, you are young at heart. That is for sure.
I am totally. I'm still doing a lot of things. It's great. Anyway, he was born, and 2 years into him, he had a asthma attack, and he is a chronic asthmatic. And so here we are in the bug business using pesticides. And I'm thinking to myself, there's got to be another way to take care of this problem. And I went on a search, and I actually wrote a book on it. It's called Learning to Breathe, another book. It's my first book. And it's all about my journey with my son through his asthma, and how Ecola, the company that I own and have been running for 20 odd years, how it's different and better than just a normal company, in the sense that we offer alternative treatments to the chemical traditional methods. So if somebody has allergies or anything like that, we can deal with that. So we never have to walk from any situation or any customer or their concerns. We've got something for everybody. And we feel that's great. And that's our niche. And it's what's put us on the map. We're a top 100 company now in North America. Wow. And I am shocked about that. I don't know why I'm shocked, but I am shocked. I mean, I never thought in a million years, just all these things. But, I believe out of obedience comes blessing. And I do my best to walk that line of integrity. I want to be known for integrity, dependability, honesty, truth, just all those things that to me matter so much in relationship, right, Nicole? I mean, if you don't have trust in a relationship, you cannot have a relationship. You can't. It's impossible.
Absolutely. No, you're absolutely in any capacity, whether it's marriage, friendship, business, it doesn't matter. Right. And to me, honesty is the most important thing. So I 100% agree with you on that.
Yes. So that's the story on how I got involved. And I never thought of me like going into a situation as a woman. I went in as a business person who had issues and wanted to get them fixed, wanted to learn all I could to be the best I could be, not only for me, but for the people that depend on me. My employees are the most important asset I have. I want to take good care of them because I feel if I take good care of them, they're going to take care of me and Ecola and our customers above and beyond. So it's really important that I watch out. There's been times, especially in 2008, where I didn't get a paycheck for probably 3 months, but my employees all got paid. And I feel like that's the right thing to do. So I just do things the way I would want things done to me. The golden rule, it's just like when people come and interview, I say, you want to give your company 2 weeks notice, because if you ever left me, I don't want you to leave me. But if you ever left me, I'd want you to give me 2 weeks notice, because it's very difficult to fill any slot. And just that rule. It's very important.
I'm going to add integrity to your honesty, because that's just what you described. And I love that part too. And eco is you were way ahead of the game, weren't you? With the eco-friendly. I mean,
I think so, just because I had my own personal story. I mean, my son, keeping him alive, keeping him well. That asthma, it can kill. It kills
right.
children, and we don't hear much about it, but it's really bad. And being in the real estate market, I've now been asked to be the CAR representative for our industry into CAR, which is California Association of Realtors, and I'm the liaison. I'm like, why'd you choose me? Because you're the best person for this. I'm like, why? But I went to my first meeting, and I understood why I was the right person for it, because I think I don't know. I love real estate. I love real estate. At one time I had my real estate license. I thought I was going to go that direction. I ended up not needing, I ended up, with the amount of CEUs, continuing education units you need to get for real estate. I have a lot of those. I'm like a broker for real estate. That's the license I carry in my industry. So to me, it's like, I can't juggle all of these CEUs. I'll have never time to run my business or take care of my kids or anything. So I had to drop the real estate license, but I love real estate. And so I think that's why they chose me. I don't know, but it was really a good meeting. I loved it.
Congratulations. I see your awards and I'm just like, I don't know how this amazing lady does all that. So I will tell you that part. But, I did notice in your bio, you've been on the Discovery Channel and the History Channel. Can you
Yes.
tell us about that? I want to hear.
Yeah. Well, you can tune on and find it.
Okay.
It's a really good program. I really like it. And I'd like to be on now. If we could do it again, it would be great to go on again. That was way early in my stage of doing all of this, but they felt it was important to get that out. And so we did. And it's just talking about what I talked about as far as doing things maybe differently. And they're not better. They're not worse. They're as good, because it just depends on the individual needs of a person and their home. So when we come out, we do a free inspection, and we do the inspection, and we discover or not discover that you have something or that you don't. And we go from there, and we have all these different alternative treatments like electrogun and heat and just all these different programs that use Mother Nature. Did you know there's more damage done by termites than any natural disaster? Flood,
Really?
fire, earthquake. There's more
No.
damage done by termites. They never stop eating. So I've been in my industry for 43 years, and I can't believe that, but it's true. And yeah, it's been good. It's been a good industry. We were essential during COVID, so we never stopped working. We had to
Wow.
pivot quite a bit, but we never
Yeah.
stopped. Yeah,
And one of the things you just mentioned is people don't talk about asthma. And
yeah.
I had an aunt and cousins that had asthma, and I know that's breathing problems. For our audience, explain what that is and why it's so important to have these eco-friendly
Well, because asthma
components.
has triggers. Uh, we all have maybe an allergy of some kind, right? My son
Mhm.
was allergic to dust, and we lived in bridle path with horses kicking up dust all day, every day. So my favorite friend was my rainbow vacuum. Everybody laughed at me, but it was because I got all the dust out of the house, and I had to vacuum almost every day to keep my son from experiencing the triggers that cause him not to be able to breathe. It's a restriction. You don't think about breathing, do we? We don't think of. I do, because I get stressed, and so I'll go breathe, Sue, breathe. But I have to remind myself to breathe. And I just have to breathe it in and then let it out, and it just calms me. But when we think about in a pool of water, and you're down deep, and you might have experienced this, but you come up and you just don't know if you're going to make it to the top without running out of air. And when you get there, at that moment, you're like, oh my gosh, am I going to make it to the top? Am I going to make it to the top to get the breath? And that's how it is with asthma. It's like you can't get breath. You can't get breath. So you're like suffocating, and it just gets harder and harder and harder. And it's just scary. It's very scary. And it always happens at night when everybody's so tired and all they want to do is go to sleep. My son, it would be at night, and I'd be so tired from the day. Moms and grandmas, these kids, they take a lot out of you, right? And then you want to go to sleep so bad. It's like you put the baby down. Oh, good. Maybe a little bit of rest. And then all of a sudden he's coughing and he's hacking, and he can't breathe. And then you're up, and you have to stay up. And so anything we can do to minimize those triggers. In my book, I do a whole chapter of it in this book. And I didn't know I was going to write this book. This picture right here, it's so funny. If you can see the picture, we just got off a camel. And I never thought in a million years this picture would be on the cover, and they're telling me I need to change my cover. I kind of like my cover. And then
It's
the change
unique
book,
on a camel. Who gets to? I haven't
I
even ridden
know,
a camel.
I know. Isn't it cool? And this book, I love this cover. I just love that cover. I
I
love
do
that picture.
too.
I actually had a good day. Anyway, so yeah, and the change book, I've read my chapter, because you write a chapter and then you go back. It's like my Bible. I will write little things on the side of certain things that are happening during my life, and I read that scripture and it means something to me at that moment, and then I will read it a year later or 2 years later, and I'll read it, and it has a deeper meaning at that time.
Ooh.
Why? Because of what I've been through, what I've learned, and I'm going, oh, so I just see things emotionally. For anyone out there, we're going to change, and hopefully we just, we want to change for the better. I'm hoping that's the desire, is to change for the better. And the best way to do that is to have that intentional mindset that you want to change for the better. The intentionalness is so important, is to be intentional. Because at this meeting I was at this weekend, they talked about whenever you have a goal, whenever you have something you want to do, you have to be intentional. You don't have to have all your steps together yet. You don't have to have the vehicle or the medium of how you're going to get from point A to point B. All you have to be is intentional, to where nothing's going to stop you from getting from here to there. And a good story of this for me is, I had a horse accident in 2011. And the reason this ties in is, I wrote this book during my time of healing from that
Ooh.
horse accident. I'm a competitive dancer. I'm a competitive water skier. I do a lot of things, and they all are with my legs. My legs are vitally important. It would be much easier for me to not have maybe an arm, God forbid. But I mean, between leg and arm, my legs, although I've had a messed up shoulder, and that it kind of, anything you have will mess you up, right? But during this time of healing, I shattered my leg, tibia, fibia, metal plate, 10 pins in my leg in 2011, which is the same time that I wheeled out of my marriage. Another story. But the healing process of not being able to put weight on that leg for 6 months, wheelchair, all that, was the time that it was the only time I would have had to write this book on learning to breathe. And it's so interesting, learning to breathe, because breathing is so important to all of us, getting that oxygen in us to where we can have fullness of mind. But it took me a long time to write the book and get my story in this book. And we are now in 2024, at the end of 2024,
Amazing.
2011 to 2024. The injury happened on a horse. The horse bucked me. I hit the horn of the saddle, and I thought I had dislocated my knee, but it actually, I shattered my leg, and we weren't expected. I didn't know if I was going to be able to walk again, let alone. So that's a whole nother story of your mind, because I kept telling myself I'm getting better every day, even though there was nothing on the outside that would say that. I talk about all these stories I'm talking about on the Sue Free Show. I really would welcome anybody to listen to my show. It's 14 years in, and I've got podcast after podcast. I'm on live Tuesdays at 12 Pacific Standard Time. So if you want to watch me and listen to me, might be too much of one thing, but
never.
But it's good. I really like the audio and the visual. I think people learn more by that. Anyway, I talk about these stories about growth, change, learning, and how taking every opportunity to learn, preparation for next assignment. I have to say that every single layer of what I've done, like I used to be, I have a SAG card, and I used to be, in commercials, right? And now I am the spokesperson for my company. I'm on the radio, so I'm in front of the camera, behind the camera. I actually, all of those steps got me to where I am today. Think about your life, okay? So that's my life. Think about your life, and think about where you've been. And instead of going, woe is me, or, that shouldn't have happened to me. And yeah, you're right. There's probably things that have happened to you that should not have happened. And it's not your fault. A lot of times I took that on as my fault, even though it wasn't my fault. And forgiveness is another big one. And I'm jumping around a little bit, but go back and look at those things and maybe think about them in a different light. Look for the lesson. Look for what you learned from that. Instead of woe is me, victimization, let's look at it from what did I learn from that? And take that lesson and pass it forward. Pass it forward. Give it forward. That's why I reveal things that I'm not proud of, but I'm healed from. Thank you. Thank you for that. I'm healed from it. So I take those lessons, even though I'm not proud of them. I'm so not proud of having an abortion. I'm not proud of that. But I wouldn't be who I am today if I hadn't gone through that and got healed from it, all the way healed from it, to where I can talk about it without crying, because I've forgiven other people and I've forgiven myself. And I think sometimes it's almost easier to forgive the other people. But like you said, Nicole, it's hardest to forgive ourselves, right?
Yes.
That
Yes.
on as if, and really we need to forgive ourselves. Grace. We have to give ourselves grace. And when we
Absolutely.
finally get healed from that, we can move forward in all that's intentionally needed or wanted or given to us in our gifts. We have gifts. We need to use our gifts. People say, how do I get it done? Well, I get up at 4 a.m. I get up at 4 a.m. and I know some of the things that I need to get done, those check off list items. And then things get thrown at you every day, right? Those things that try to get you off track, right?
Oh, every day,
okay.
every day.
And I have to say to myself, is this priority? Is this something I have to do, or somebody else could do it? If somebody else could do it, I give it to somebody else. But if I have to do it, I have to say, is this more important than this, this, and this? And when I do that, I tend to get more done. But I'm intentional. We need to be intentional. And if you're not sure of what your intention is, take a moment and the empowerment to move forward in all things. You'll plow through it. You'll thrust through it if you have the mindset of intentionality.
Absolutely. And you know what I love about when you talk, and even about forgiveness, when we tell it with a story, it makes it so much stronger. We can make a statement that might not be heard, but when we add our personal story, which is vulnerable, right? And I tell people, I said, vulnerability is the new superpower. And when I share, I always use something attached to me, because at this age, I've gone through a lot. And if we, I kid you
Oh,
not.
really?
So I always, and I'm not saying you have to do it my way. I'm just telling you what I experience based on experience. And
Right.
that you can only get that with time and with age. So I love the fact that you're so candid in your speaking, and I think it's absolutely amazing. And I know we're running out of time, but I want you to tell everybody about what you did on American Bandstand.
I'm going to age myself now. 1978, I was a red stand, and every spotlight dance, and they would pick their 5 competitive couples out of the spotlight dance. So we got asked to do spotlight dance a couple times, and what happened from there, week, different routine, different costumes, different costume. And then it was voted, not by text, not by whatever, it was postcard, mail-in postcard. This is how long ago it was, right? People voted, and they did it by postcard, postage stamp in the mail, and we took first place, and we each won a car. And at the time, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I thought it was just another day. But looking back, it's something that people think is really cool. So okay, and it was fun. It was really fun. Yeah.
That's
and from
amazing.
there, I keep on. I got married to a man with 2 left feet. Got pregnant right away. So I didn't dance for 20 years. I didn't dance for 20 years, take care of my kids. And then when my son hit senior year, I decided that it was time that I could go back and get into the dance world. The dances had changed, and but I started dancing, and I just took a first, second, and third 2 weekends ago in country 2-step, which I haven't danced like in a year and a half because I had an injury, and I'm back.
Yay, she's back. She's back. You never went too far. I know you didn't, but I'm glad you're back.
But I did get back on my horse again. I'm water skiing again, but it took all these years from 2011 to just 2022. I bought a horse. It took me a year to get on the horse, and now I'm riding. I went to Sequoias, and I climbed those big mountains and got to a lake way up high. And who would have thought? Who would have thought? But we can't get to the point where we don't get back up again and get back on again. It's a term we use for horses, but it's good for anything. You get back
Absolutely.
up, get back on. So I'm going to tell everybody out there, get back up, get back on. That's what we need to do.
I love that. And I have a link to your website in the description, but I know you have many things. So just tell people real quickly where they can find you.
Okay. If you're in Southern California, termitelady.com to get us to come out and do, because we are the best, just saying. And other than that, the radio show goes everywhere, and it's Sue Fries, spelled like fries, one word.com. And on there, you will get all the podcasts by date, by customer, by guest, and by topic. So if you have a certain topic like grief, if you're going through grief, anything like that. And they're getting better all the time. It's amazing. So, and then the books are on there too. You can go there to get the books, and I autograph it if you go through that way. So usually people want to have it autographed. And so I can do that. Anyway, so that's it. Sue Fries, spelled like fries, oneword.com.
Thank you for being a guest today, Sue. And I just want to tell our audience and our listeners that I have met this lady in person, and she is really amazing. The energy you see right here, it's what you see is what you get with Sue. So I highly encourage you, go find her, go watch her videos, check her out. She's one of a kind. I call people a horse of a different color. You're one of them, and you're it. So, wow. Sue, thank you so much for being on our show today.
Thank you.
I have had, like I said, you're always amazing. So I'm going to say goodbye to our audience. Everyone take care, and we will see you next Monday. Thanks, everyone. Have a great Thanksgiving. Bye.